Hi, 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 and hey, hey, and welcome back to Talk More Talk, a solo Beatles videocast. This is a bi-weekly show that normally we do every other Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. But this week we're doing it on Tuesday since yesterday was Memorial Day. We figured we'd give you guys a break and relax on Memorial Day. So we're doing the show tonight instead. And so on the show tonight, we have an interesting topic, as we always do. We're going to be looking at VIPs, people who made a major contribution to the solo Beatles music of the 70s, other than the Beatles themselves. Yes. So we can't say John on a Ringo record or, George on a Ringo record.
I didn't know that when I made my list.
What's that?
Sorry. I didn't know that when I made my list.
You better start working on changes right now as we're doing.
Start looking for changes, Joe.
So I'm Ken Michaels. I'm one of the four regular co-hosts of the show, and hopefully you know my syndicated Beatles radio program called Every Little Thing that has been on the air now for, this year made it 40 years, currently on 55 radio stations. And in addition to that, I also co-host another bi-weekly Beatles podcast called Things We Said Today with my buddies Darren DeVivo and Allan Kozin. In addition to that, I have my own YouTube channel, Ken Michaels Radio, that is all Beatles conversations. Sometimes it's one-on-one, sometimes they're panel discussions, but lots of Beatle programming in my life. And this is one of my favorite shows to do, of course, Talk More Talk, with my three buddies right here. Let's bring them on right now. First, we have the queen of everything, the queen of Beatles social media, and she is the author of several books, including Songs We Were Singing, Guided Tours Through the Beatles' Lesser Known Tracks, Michael Jackson FAQ, All That's Left to Know About the King of Pop, and also, thank God, a shorter title, Fandom that she co-wrote with our colleague, Ken Womack. And she writes for a lot of magazines and periodicals, Beatle Fan and Something Else Reviews and Consequence of Sound. And she also does occasional seminars online, virtual ones, on albums like Stevie Wonder's Songs in the Key of Life and Carole King's Tapestry. And that's our own Kit O'Toole. Hi, Kit.
Hi, Ken. Thank you very much for that wonderful introduction. Hi, Tom. Hi, Joe.
Hello.
Good to be back with you guys and with everybody. And it's going to be a fun and jam-packed show tonight.
Yeah. Sure is. We got a lot to talk about. Not only the main topic that I mentioned before, but Kit, you got to see Paul McCartney in concert.
Why, yes, I did.
You're still there.
I'm still there. I haven't been able to come home.
You're going to be glued there for a while.
That's right.
So, Kit, welcome to the show, of course. And we also have Tom Hunyadi, who is one half of the great podcast on the solo Paul McCartney career called Two Legs, along with Andy Nichols. And along with that, I want to tell you folks something that has impressed me a lot about Tom recently. First of all, he went to the opera.
Yeah.
He also went to the ballet.
Yeah. Wow.
In addition to that, he watched my favorite movie of all time that's not a Beatles movie or a musical. And that happened to be The Jerk with Steve Martin.
Yeah.
So I'm so impressed with you. This goes to show you're dealing with sophisticated people here.
Very cultured people.
Damn straight.
Tom, welcome.
Hi. Hello. Good to see you guys. And thank you, Ken.
You weren't expecting that, were you?
No, I was not. But hey, I'm proud of going to the opera and the ballet.
You should be.
I got no problem. Yeah.
That's some culture.
That's right. Yep.
Just don't tell your friends the surprise ending.
I think everybody knows the ending to Romeo and Juliet. It's not a secret anymore.
Also, we have Joe Mayo with us of the YouTube channel Me, Mr. Mayo, and he does virtually everything. Lots of Beatles content on there, talks about things going on in pop culture, music, movies, you name it. And occasionally does the Fab Gab show. You haven't done one for a while, have you?
Yeah, I'm going to be doing a return of Fab Gab. That's something I'll have to talk about at the end.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So, and also you celebrated your 10th anniversary with your YouTube channel.
Yeah, I did. Right. Yeah. And I
Congratulations.
want to thank all of you for, saying congratulations and offering up a video for that video. Thank you.
Of
Yeah.
course.
What I
Happy
said.
to.
Yeah, you're the biggest thing on the internet, Joe. I made it.
Oh, God. Especially when I turn profile.
What's that Hitchcock theme? So how's that Hitchcock theme go?
Yeah.
Oh,
There you go.
yeah. I know. Why don't you get up and get something from the back of the room, Tom? Maybe we're.
Yeah. I'm good. I'm good where I am, buddy.
Me too.
So anyway, like I said, we're going to be having that special topic on VIPs in the solo careers of the Beatles. And we're dealing strictly with the 70s this time. Maybe in the future, we'll do one on each decade. All right. And we will talk to Kit in a few moments about her experience seeing Paul in concert. Before we do that, we have to get to the latest Beatle news. First of all, we have Ringo Starr, who gave a virtual press conference with his latest all-star band last Thursday. And that was the day before he kicked off his tour at the Casino Rama in Toronto. Ringo and most of the musicians all talked about how excited they are about being back on the road after several years of tours being canceled due to COVID. Ringo cited 4 tours he missed because of this. Hamish Stewart said, "Playing live is what we do. It's our lifeblood." Greg Bissonette said, "There's nothing like playing live in front of an audience." And Edgar Winter said, "I love to play with Ringo anytime. Happy to be back and to do what I love most to do." One thing Ringo commented on regarding his all-star band tours is that his audience has been getting younger. He's been looking at the audience and he sees a lot of young fans. Good thing. New Beatle fans popping up all the time. It's so important to always attract that younger audience.
Maybe you can start singing "You're 16" again. I don't know.
Not that long. We brought it back. There were lots of questions thrown out about the documentary Get Back. And Ringo said he remembered quite a lot of what he saw. The difference in doing those sessions was that they had no songs to start off with. Everything was done from scratch. He said Michael Lindsay Hogg's version of what happened in the film Let It Be was too down, and Peter Jackson did a great job. He also said he wanted to remember, but didn't see it in the documentary, how he got that shuffle beat in the song Get Back. When asked if he'd like to see a documentary being made about anything else from his career, he said he'd like to see one on the Eddie Clayton Group. That was before Rory Storm, folks. The all-star band was asked to comment about the Beatle breakup and what it meant to them. Edgar Winter said the Beatles breakup was meant to be. They all made great albums on their own. Thank you, Edgar. Let's have him on the show.
Yeah.
Let's
do it.
The one new piece of news coming from Ringo was that he just finished his 3rd EP. Didn't say when it would come out or what the title was. All right. Well, those 3 letters, these 3 letters, apparently are going to be heard more prominently in the news. NFT stands for non-fungible tokens. Remember, we mentioned them when Julian Lennon had an NFT auction of memorabilia he was selling off. Well, both Ringo and Julian have new ones right now. Ringo's is called Ringo Starr NFT Collection, the creative mind of a Beatle. Fans can now bid on animated paintings by Ringo, along with a custom-made drum composition recorded and played by the artist, according to Julian's Auctions, who are hosting this event. The purchases also include a 25-inch by 25-inch canvas print signed by Ringo. Ringo said in a statement, "I only ever wanted to be a drummer, yet you never know where a new idea or path will lead you. This new technology is so far out, it's inspired me, and I've loved creating these NFTs, combining my art and my music. Who'd have thought I would be spreading peace and love in the metaverse?" This is the first NFT collection created by a Beatle, and the auction is scheduled for June 13th and will include 5 different NFTs with 4 of each set to be sold. Bids can be made that day on juliansauctions.com on their website, and some of the proceeds will benefit Ringo's charity, the Lotus Foundation. Now, Julian Lennon is trying to raise money for Ukraine by releasing an NFT auction of his recording of John's iconic song, Imagine. This started on May 20th, and it's running for 11 days, which means that it's probably ending today. And Julian is charging $11 through the organization Yellow Heart. Julian's recording of John's Imagine will include a recording of the track in addition to audio and visual interpretations of the song, including new artwork and a personal narration from Lennon. The NFT interpretation of Imagine features Lennon's acoustic performance, accompanied by co-producer Nuno Betancourt on guitar and backing vocals, along with the audio recording featuring black and white pencil visuals that Lennon transformed into pockets of light throughout the song. According to the individual, are you going to say something?
I was saying already.
Well, I mean, I'm glad. I guess I'm glad that it's something other than just like a picture of a guitar, you know,
Yeah,
or something like, or you know, something like that. But go ahead, Ken.
A new way of doing things at the moment.
Yeah.
According to The Independent, Paul McCartney tops the list from the Sunday Times of the richest musicians from the UK and Ireland, saying that he has 865 million pounds ahead of the number 2 artist, for which they list the band U2, having 625 million pounds, followed by Andrew Lloyd Webber with 495 million pounds. Alan Cozen will be very disappointed about that. Webber's wealth actually went down because of the pandemic, the pandemic's effect on the theater industry.
Right.
The Sunday Times gave us a top 20 list and also included at number 8 are Olivia and Danny Harrison at 295 million pounds. And at number 9, Sir Ringo Starr at 285 million pounds. Interesting that John Lennon or Yoko and Sean are not listed at all. Is that because John moved to the US? And Yoko and John lived there? Don't know. We're very happy for the multi-talented producer, songwriter, and musician Alan Parsons, who just received an OBE. That's for Order of the British Empire from Queen Elizabeth via Prince William. An OBE is one step below a CBE. Also, you were reporting this, Tom. Actually did a whole show on 2 legs with Denny Sywell and Fernando Perdomo, but there will be a tribute concert for the Ram album. You want to tell the folks a little bit about it?
Yeah, we were fortunate enough to have Denny Sywell and Fernando Perdomo on the show to promote their upcoming show on July 16th at the Troubadour in LA. And what it is they're going to be performing the entire Ram album, including, you know, songs like Oh Woman Oh Why, Another Day, and a couple others, and there'll be some surprises. And what it is you know, it's pretty much covering the Ram On album that they did last year to honor the 50th anniversary of Ram. And so yeah, you know, you can get tickets at thetroubadour.com, and you know, if it sells out, they said that there's going to be a streaming option. So if you're in the area, you know, please check it out. Listen, they're filling a void. I mean, listen, we know McCartney's not going to be doing these songs, you know, so here we go with you know, somebody that played on those songs, and Denny Sywell. So let's go out and help support these guys, and you know, and maybe if this goes well, maybe they'll do a few more shows down the line. We'll see. But yeah, it looks like it's going to be a great time. I'm actually thinking of going.
Right. Are they going to have everybody that played on the album perform?
A bunch of people will be there. Yeah, people like Timmy Shawn, who did the vocals for "Smile Away" and "Monkberry Moon Delight," and there'll be others too that performed on there that will be there. Well, yeah. So they're having as many people as possible that performed on the original album. They also said that the CD is also going to get a vinyl release here in July as well, thanks to Cherry Red Records. So it's not on the website yet, but it should be coming soon.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Tom. All right, some more news here. I want to correct myself for something I said 2 weeks ago when mentioning the new coasters that have just come out for McCartney merchandise. I said that one of them was a world map. Well,
Right.
it was actually for Wings Over America. It was the map that was on the label when the album first came out. So we have Venus and Mars, Wings Over America, London Town, and Back to the Egg coasters available. There you go. What can I say, folks? I should have known.
There they are. And these are the ones that are causing all the stir right here.
Yeah, for the Paul McCartney fan who has to have everything.
Yes. What do you get the McCartney fan that has everything? Well, you get them coasters.
I want the Back to the Egg one. I'd like to have that one.
So I'll just put those next to the gnomes.
Shut up, Tom.
Oh.
All right. Details are now coming out regarding the upcoming Fest for Beatle fans in Chicago at the Hyatt Regency O'Hare. That's August 12th through the 14th. It will feature some of the same guests as the ones in April in New Jersey. Those include drummer extraordinaire and member of Ringo's All-Stars, Greg Bissonette, Billy J. Kramer, Peter Asher will be there, Chris O'Dell, Lawrence Juber, Mark Lewison, of course, the band Liverpool, The Weaklings, Gary Astridge, Ringo's drum curator, and Simon Weitzman, bringing you the world premiere of the new documentary film Here, There, and Everywhere, described as a love letter to the Beatles from the fans. And also our colleague, Ken Womack, who will have a sneak preview of his forthcoming biography book on Mal Evans. If you want more info, you can go to their website, thefest.com. And don't know if there'll be a Talk More Talk panel.
I think there will be at least Ken Womack and I are planning to do something.
Okay,
So
cool.
So to kind of represent Talk More Talk. So stay tuned, and we'll see what's going to be happening. So of course, when we know details, we will announce them on here and on our Facebook page.
You never know from show to show if something will develop. So
Exactly.
And also, I wanted to send out congratulations to our friend on the Things We Said Today podcast, because in the New York Times, his last name was the answer in this week's crossword.
That's right. Yeah. That's awesome.
Actually made it
Yeah.
in a crossword puzzle. Congratulations to Allan Kozin. And as one person wrote on Facebook, next time, his name will be The Question on Jeopardy.
I know somebody who's an expert at crossword puzzles. Yes.
Yeah.
And you always got to remember, put down gnat when you're talking about an insect. And it's
here we go.
3 spaces.
Okay.
All right.
Here we go.
No more honeymooners.
So happy with all these honeymooners.
Yeah.
Here we go, Tom.
Yeah.
All right, we end our news on a couple of sad notes. First of all, some major passings here. The death, of course, of Allan White. Allan will always be known for drumming in the progressive rock band Yes for the last 50 years.
Wow.
And as far as his work with the Beatles, he played with John first as a member of the Plastic Ono Band for the Live Peace in Toronto concert. With John, Yoko, Klaus Vormann, and Eric Clapton. He also played at the Lyceum Ballroom in London at the Peace for Christmas UNICEF concert. That was in December of '69, performing in a supergroup, which also included George Harrison, Eric Clapton, and Delaney and Bonnie. And that was on Cold Turkey, was a performance of that, and Don't Worry, Kyoko. That was followed by Allan's drumming on the classic single For Instant Karma, then on George Harrison's All Things Must Pass album, and on John's Imagine album. Yoko Ono had this to say: Allan White was a wonderful drummer who was an essential part of the sound of Imagine, Instant Karma as well, and more recordings. He was always gentle, kind, and good-humored. We were blessed he was part of our family. Love and condolences to Gigi, that's his wife, Jessie and Cassie White, JJ, Ellie, and Andrea. Just want to add a quote from Peter Frampton on this. Dear friend and incredible drummer, Allan White has left us way too soon. He was one of the most down-to-earth people I've ever known. When you next hear Imagine or Jealous Guy by John, think of Allan as you hear his masterful playing and all his wonderful work with Yes, R.I.P. I did an interview with Allan about 10 months ago,
Yeah.
which is now on my YouTube channel, Ken Michaels Radio, and I can't believe how honored I was and privileged to interview him. At the time, I interviewed him mainly because All Things Must Pass had just come out, the anniversary box set. So I wanted to focus more on that than on John. We did talk a bit about John. I wish I could have spent more time talking about John, but it was wonderful talking to him. So if you get a chance, please check out that interview on my YouTube channel, Ken Michaels.
Yeah, I'm
Great
glad
interview,
I got a
Ken.
chance to meet him at the Fest for Beatles fans. I think 2019.
Yeah.
And Darren DeVivo interviewed him on stage there too.
Yeah.
Mm.
I know he's a big Yes fan, so I'm sure he's a little heartbroken right now.
Sure. As are so many people in the music world.
Yeah.
Yes has been so much a part of people's lives, and so amazing band, amazing musicians. Also, there's Ronnie Hawkins.
Yep.
The musician who's died. He helped to discover the band, and John and Yoko stayed at his farm in Mississauga, Ontario, during their War is Over campaign in 1969, and with his wife Wanda, rode with John and Yoko by train to Montreal, where they were there for the Bed In for Peace at the Queen Elizabeth Hotel. And after that, took another train ride to be there when John and Yoko met Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau. John made Hawkins a peace ambassador, spreading an anti-war message when traveling on the border of China and Hong Kong with journalist Richie York. And Hawkins died from cancer on May the 29th at the age of 7.
Yeah, he was also in the Last Waltz film that also featured Ringo Starr.
Mm-hmm.
There's a collectible.
Beatles.
A collectible John Lennon 45 where he talks about Ronnie Hawkins, and I think he plays a song called "Down in the Alley." I think, if I'm not mistaken, and he talks about Ronnie Hawkins. I remember having that 45 as a collectible.
Mm-hmm. All right, very nice. Okay, that's all the news we have for you this time. And before we get to our main topic, Kit, you got to see Paul McCartney in Orlando. Tell us the experience. Tell us everything.
Oh, wow. Well, I'll tell you, I have to thank Tom and Ed Chen, who really convinced me to go to the Orlando show. It was kind of a last minute thing, and boy, am I glad I did. It was so much fun. I was telling everybody before we went on the air that this definitely had a different air than the other shows I've been to of Paul's. And I think it was because, for the past couple of years, obviously we haven't been able to go to concerts. We've been cooped up. And I think everybody was just so excited to finally be able to, be together, to experience live music together. So the crowd was just in a great mood. I mean, everybody was just ready to have a good time. And so this crowd was pumped. I mean, they really were. And I was on the floor, and I've only done that one other time in 1990. I was 18 years old, so it's a long time since I've done this, and it's a completely different experience. And I'm so glad that I did it, because it was just you just feel like you're just right in the middle of things, and just obviously so much closer. He really was in pretty good voice the night I saw him. Perfect, no, of course. He struggled at times, but not bad. Kind of like what you were saying, Tom, that there were times where even when he did Maybe I'm Amazed, that's kind of the big test, when he started it, and I just thought, but he wasn't bad. I mean, I guess the yardstick, if you want to call it that, was that, Saturday Night Live performance, and it was nothing at all like that. I mean, it was pretty good. I noticed that he now has some vocal tricks that he's using to preserve his voice, which is good. You know, that's a good thing. I mean, he's, phrasing a little differently, not holding notes quite as long, things like that.
Yeah.
And that's great. I mean, that's very smart. And so he's doing some things like that, I can tell, to try to, preserve, not hitting the high notes quite as much, and the band kind of covers that. And again, that's fine, because he sounds better when he's doing that. But I mean, he just just connects with the audience so much. That hasn't changed at all. Yes, he did the same stage patter. I mean, it was pretty much, like the last time, the Jimi Hendrix story, the Blackbird story, all that stuff. But, when you're there, it kind of like what you said, Tom, it doesn't matter because you're just so caught up in everything. One interesting surprise was, well, maybe not surprise, but when he did Get Back. Now, we've all seen him Get Back 1,000 times. But to me, it had it has more meaning now, because we've all seen him, compose it through Get Back. I mean, we've seen him sit there and compose it right in front of our eyes. So now when you see him perform it, and he has footage from Get Back playing in, on the big screens background, it just enhances the performance, I think. So I enjoyed Get Back a lot more than I have in years watching it. Like, because now you feel like you have more insight into it. So that was really enjoyable. Even more than I thought. Love Me Do sounded particularly good this time around. I don't know why. It just, he seemed like he was having particular fun with it that night. Trying to think what other highlights. Of course, Live and Let Die, as you said, Tom. I could feel the hate.
Yeah. Did you feel?
I was just like, wow, this is incredible. Struggled a little bit on that.
Yeah.
Some of the notes, I noticed that too, but that's fine. I mean, it still was great. Bathroom Song was definitely my Valentine. Got kind of polite applause at the end. I'd say that probably got the weakest, but Come On To Me got a good response.
Okay.
That got a good response because it's got that sing-along quality.
Right.
And so it plays well live. So
and the horns.
the horns.
Kid, did he do Women and Wives or Let Him In?
Let him in. Let him in. He did Women and Wives for the sound check. I should mention, I got there a bit early. Ed and I got there a bit early, so we could hear a very muffled sound check from the outside. And he did Women and Wives for that. So we got Let Him In, which was great. I love Let Him In, so I'm not complaining. But yeah, it would have been nice, to hear Women and Wives in the show. But yeah, we could hear him do it in the sound check. We heard a little bits of it. He did Drive My Car, One After 909. Trying to Matchbox, did a really rocking version of Matchbox in the sound check. So yeah, as I said, we could only hear like bits and pieces. Unfortunately, it was pretty muffled. But he did New, which got an okay response. I mean, he did it well, of course, but
did he do the acapella bit at the end? The do.
I'm trying to remember. I don't remember them doing that.
Yeah, because they didn't do that in SoFi.
Yeah, they didn't. I don't think they did it. I don't remember an acapella part. Yeah, okay. I don't think they did it. No. They did For You. I think people were confused. I think they were a little confused, and they showed the video in the background, which I always thought that video was really bizarre. So it's like, okay, I don't know, but
Well, it's
Well,
funny
I-
because you're
I-
watching the video and you're in your mind you might be thinking he's saying something else, and then you're watching the video and seeing the kid
The
maybe
kid.
saying that too,
yeah, and you're just
and
like,
you're like, why is the
what?
kid, yeah, what? And he
Well,
okayed
yeah.
this?
Yeah, I mean, it's just weird.
Yeah.
And I've got to say, Dance Tonight, and of course I know I've talked about it on the show before. I love Memory Almost Full, but Dance Tonight, I always thought the studio version, I wasn't totally insane about it. It really sounds better live. Every time I've heard it live, I've thought, I don't know what it is, if there's just more energy to it live, but I just like it better when
The
when
Abe
I've heard
dance
it.
routine. It's
Yeah.
the
And of
Abe dance
course, yeah,
routine.
Abe did the dance routine. It's cute. It's cute, but there's just something about it that just has more charm, and people clap along to it. No, there's something about it that just plays better in person. I don't know what it is, but I've liked that song better since I've seen him do it in concert. Junior's Farm, loved that. I was glad, and 1985. I know he's done it a bunch of times, but that's just great live.
Mhm.
I mean, come on. And Obla Obla, it was really funny. The section that was kind of diagonal for me, it was so funny when he started the song after the opening chords and then the bass comes in. I swear that whole section started bouncing up and down. It's just the crowd, people love it. It's just it's just a timeless song. Of course he did his usual encore, but this was great. I mean, you couldn't have planned this. So he goes into Helter Skelter, and and I do love Helter Skelter live. I know he's done it 1,000 times, but I love it. And then of course at the end he's going into coming down fast, and I swear to God, there was lightning in the sky. It was heat lightning. But like these bolts start coming out as he's doing that part, and they went away fast. There was no danger or anything, but like the fact that there were lightning bolts going as he's doing that, it was just like, yeah. It was like, you couldn't have planned it. It was just a little added fun, a little added effects. Speaking of effects, the Live and Let Die, whenever he does it in an outdoor stadium, of course they really go nuts with the effects, with the fireworks and
yeah,
that was great. I did like the which of course he claims they'd never done live, and that's not really true, but the You Never Give Me Your Money section, that's fun to hear him do live. And then of course the grand finale of the end. I mean, it's just, how can he not do that? So do I wish he would do different songs? Sure. I do. I mean, I would, but the crowd loved it. I mean, and I mean, maybe in a way he's not playing for us complete hardcore nerds. I mean, he's playing for, the general fans. I mean, I wish he would throw us more of a bone. I really do. But the crowd just absolutely went wild. I mean, they really did. So, I mean, you can argue both ways, but I still had a great time. But yes, I do wish he would, shake up the list a bit, because it's still, we've heard these songs a lot, but I will say, when he did Let It Be, and I turned around and looked at the stadium and saw all the lights. I mean, wow, that doesn't get old. I have to admit, it doesn't. It's
So
pretty
emotional.
moving.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah. It's interesting what you said about Dance Tonight, because there are certain songs that, for whatever the reason, seem to work really well live. Maybe it's also cool that he takes out the mandolin, a different to play. So, and yeah, it's fun to see Abe dance around. That's a part of his shtick there with that song. But did you notice if there were a lot of young people in the audience? Was it very much a family crowd with parents and kids?
Yes, in fact, I'm glad you mentioned that. Thanks, Ken, because this was a very multi-generational audience, more than I've seen. It was grandparents, parents, grandchildren, teenagers. I sat next to, it was funny, the guy who actually sold me the ticket. I'm like, he was 24. I hope he's watching. I really promoted our show to him because, boy, he knew the Beatles and solo catalog inside out, and he's a fan of Joe's.
Hey,
Because
thanks.
I was telling him about our show, and he said, "Mean Mr. Mayo, I watch him all the time. I love his Rancid videos." And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. And we took a picture together. And it was great sitting with him. And it was only a second time seeing Paul. So he was super excited. And so, it was great to share the concert with him because he was just super excited the whole night. But yeah, I mean, and he really, Scott, it was great spending. I hope you're watching. It was so fun spending that concert with you, and sharing that experience. Hope you're watching. And, but there were so many different ages. And the next day when I was riding back to the airport, my Lyft driver said, it had been crazy the night before, of course, and Lyft and Uber got a lot of business. And she said, "Who was that guy who was for me?" Because he was really funny. And I, of course, explained who it was. And she said, "Well, I wondered," because she said there were all different ages there. And I thought, who was this guy who would attract so many different ages? I love it. Who was that guy? But it was true. That really impressed me. And I, even more than other concerts I've been to of his, that this attracted so many different age groups.
There you go.
Yeah,
great to see.
For me, part of the joy in seeing him live is to see a lot of young people who have never seen him before.
Right.
You'd have to be in shock that he's doing any of these songs, especially classic Beatles songs or, something classic like Band on the Run or something. And then to be in total shock when you got the fireworks, and because they have no idea what's about to happen. So, to look around and see younger people experience that, and also to see, like I said, parents with their kids together. Yeah, that's such a great feeling right there.
It really is. And in fact, it was
how about the John duet with Paul? I've got a feeling.
I'm going to be a little bit of a party pooper here and say that it was a little disappointing when I saw it, because I was really psyched about that. I mean, I was really looking forward to it. And Ed and I were talking about it, that it's I don't know if it was just the mix, but John's voice was not very high in the mix at the stadium. So it sounded a little thin. And I don't know. So it was a little hard to hear him. And also, I think maybe they were having some trouble with the screens. I don't know, but the footage was a little stuttery. And so it was a little disappointing. That was the only part that it was a little bit of a letdown, because I was really looking forward to that. The other thing too is, the first time that footage was posted on YouTube, and I think that was his first show, maybe the opening night of the tour. I think Paul, because that was the first night they were doing it, was really into it. But now that Paul's done it a number of times, I'm wondering if the emotion of it and all has kind of faded a bit. And so he wasn't interacting with the screen as much as I thought he would. So that part was a little disappointing. It was fine. But I was expecting to be a little more emotional than I was. So that was the only part that I would say that was a little bit not quite as good as I thought it would be. But maybe my expectations were just sky high because of what I had seen online.
Yeah, and I've seen it so many times, a few times online now. Myself.
Exactly. That could be it too. That it's coming. And
Yeah.
so, your expectations are just too big, but it may have just been some technical issues at the stadium. I mean, that could be it too. And I think, because I will also say the horns could have been way up in the mix too. They were a little low. I wish they had been just a little bit higher. Because I want to hear those horns.
You said it, me too.
Yeah. And they were a little low in the mix. So that was a little bit of a criticism I had too, but very
I
minor.
don't remember the John vocals being as low as yours was, unfortunately. Fortunately for my sake, I guess I got a little
they were just a
better
little thin sounding
Yeah.
in the mix.
Freudian slip there.
Yeah.
Right.
But overall, I would say go. Yeah, the tickets are expensive.
I'm going.
Paul doesn't sound like he did when he was, on the 89-90 tour or anything like that. But, it's a great time. And, it's Paul McCartney, damn it. I mean, he's right there, and you will have a ball. Really will. It's a celebration.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing him. I'm going to see him at Fenway, the first show there. And
Right.
So
you will love it.
Yeah, between
You will.
Paul and Ringo, I'm going to be busy the next couple of weeks. But we always bring up the set list here on this show, and certainly we all would like him to do some songs that he's never done live before. But I think at this stage, it's just the fact that he's got nothing to prove. He's just going to go out and have a good time and play songs that he knows the public wants to hear. And
Right.
so, I'm just so glad that he's out there doing anything for us. So
Exactly.
something to be grateful for.
Absolutely.
All right. Very good, Kit. So on with our main topic of the show. We're looking at VIPs, we're calling it, of the 70s who are on solo Beatles records. These are all people that we think made some kind of major contribution to one or more of the Beatles. And each of us have picked 5 artists. They could be musicians, songwriters, producers. Some could have more than one role. And I don't know if any of us have any honorary mentions, but we all have 5 that we picked. And I thought that, I'd like to start with my 5, and then we'll go around the corner here.
Sure.
Number 1 for me is someone that I think should automatically be on everyone's list. Be curious to see if it's on yours. And that's Denny Laine. Denny Laine is the only member of Wings other than Paul and Linda who was there from the very beginning to the very end. He was a constant. He was there for the harmonies, and Paul, Linda, and Denny were part of that signature sound in the harmony work of Wings. In addition to all that, I really do think that he brought a folk element to Wings. He co-wrote a number of songs with Paul. London Town, 5 songs there. He co-wrote the biggest selling single in the UK up to that point with Paul, being Mull of Kintyre, which was also, a huge hit around the world, everywhere but the United States. And, that's a very significant song in the career of Paul McCartney, Mull of Kintyre. And, like I said, Denny was always there. I love the contributions of the 4th and 5th members of Wings through the years. They all made very big contributions. I like all the different lineups, but how can you argue with someone who was there from the entire run of Wings, the entire decade, even went into the Tug of War Pipes of Peace sessions. And not only that, he sang lead on songs that Paul wrote, like Spirits of Ancient Egypt, for example, or the first verse of Picasso's Last Words, and he sang lead on 5 songs during the Wings Over America tour. Denny Laine, to me, very important in the career of Paul McCartney, and especially in the 70s. Number 2, do you guys want to comment on that, or you just want me to?
No, I mean, you can't argue with Denny Laine.
Well put.
Yeah.
Well put. I didn't have Denny on my list, but that's
nor did
I
I.
didn't either.
Yeah.
But I mean, what can you say? It's absolutely true.
I think you
But
nailed
again,
it, though.
it's a no-brainer. I mean,
Also, I put Vinnie Poncia on there. Vinnie Poncia, because he co-wrote quite a lot of songs with Ringo. I think the number is 15 songs altogether. He was his main songwriting partner of the 70s. A couple songs on the Ringo album, including the major hit of Oh My My. He played acoustic guitar, did, I think, backing vocals on the Ringo album and Goodnight Vienna. But then later on, it's all these co-writes with Ringo. On Ringo's Rotogravure, Crying, which is one of my favorite Ringo songs in his solo career, was written with Vinnie Poncia. And especially Ringo the Fourth, where there's 10 songs and 6 of the 10 are co-writes with Vinnie Poncia. And Vinnie also produced the Bad Boy album as well. I like most of the songs that Ringo and Vinnie wrote together. And the first really big step that Ringo took as a songwriter, even though he wrote a few songs with George, was with Vinnie Poncia on Ringo the Fourth. A few songs before that, but if you take a look at what they wrote together in the 70s, it's a substantial number of songs right there. And I wish I knew more about their work together in particular. All right. Number 3 for me would be Phil Spector. There's no doubt about it. You know, as much as I like to say that there's nothing more important than how strong the songs are, and I will always say that. Phil Spector, a big reason why All Things Must Pass was a success that it was, is because of the production that he brought to it. I love the reverb sound. You know, I do like what was done on the new box set, but I still will go back to the original no matter what. I think those songs, the very spiritual nature of so many of those songs, called for that kind of wall of sound. It was perfect for that. Not to mention the fact that I think that the production on Instant Karma was wonderful. You know, It's one of the biggest reasons I love Instant Karma is not just the song, but it's the sound of that song.
And it's just enough for me on that one. It's not too over the top and not, too under. It's just right.
Right. Okay. So Phil Spector has to be in there. Also his work on the Imagine album with John and Yoko too. I had to put Jim Keltner in there. Jim Keltner is one of those names that you just see everywhere on solo Beatle records in the 70s, mainly with John, George, and Ringo. The mere fact that he's on so many songs tells you how highly they thought of him. I often point to his drumming on What You Got, which really drove. I know he himself has pointed out that song as one that he's especially proud of. It's a bit of a drawback sometimes when you've got Jim and Ringo together because you don't know which part Ringo played. But just the fact that he was there on so many records tells you how highly they thought of him. So I had to put Jim Keltner in there. And likewise, I had to put Klaus Voormann in there. You know, Klaus played bass on so many records from John, George, and Ringo. And his bass playing in most cases was fairly simple, but just what was needed. There's some really great bass playing on Give Me Love, in particular, this descending bass line that he does in one part of the song that's phenomenal. But, sometimes quantity matters a lot to me. And the mere fact that names like Klaus Voormann and Jim Keltner, among others, there are lots of others that were used a lot, just makes you realize that the Beatles thought so highly of these people. So Klaus Voormann would be my 5th.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, Keltner and Corman, I mean, this is exactly what, I was envisioning, I mean, these people need more, they need to be talked about more, in my opinion, so I'm glad you definitely brought those two up, Ken.
It's part of like a core band that they had, all but Paul, and that's only because Paul had wings.
Right.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, you mentioned a bunch of my runner-ups.
Well, same here.
That's how it goes.
And I'm surprised. I mean, I shouldn't be surprised, but you didn't have any that I picked, and I think that's great.
Yeah.
I think that's great because I see a well, rounded show with probably people that deserve to be mentioned.
Absolutely.
It's also great when we all agree on one particular.
Right.
That's great. But you're right about Klaus Voormann, though. I've really come to appreciate him as a player because he's not flashy. He's very, but he's kind of a less is more player, and I really appreciate musicians like that. It's the quality, not the quantity of notes, the quality.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
Well put.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
Joe, let's make you.
Okay, Ken. Well, when I went into this, because sometimes we discuss what we're going to do for the next show right after we do a show, but
Right.
then it changes a little bit.
Mm.
I got the idea originally. I wasn't thinking VIP, like in other words, who are the absolute most essential,
Mhm.
greatest. If I was going to do that, I'm sure I would have had all those people on there. I would have put Denny, Phil Spector, Jim Keltner, Klaus Vorman. I mean, I mean, they played on almost everything, right? Jim Keltner and Klaus alone.
Right.
But that's the way I took it, the way I understood it and kind of took it was just thinking of some songs that I really liked that were enhanced and made special by certain musicians or producers.
Yeah.
And
That's fine.
along those lines, I have a bunch here. Uh, I have 7 actually. I'm going to try to narrow it down to 5. First, I went with Henry McCullough because of the My Love song.
Mhm.
And I think, his guitar solo on there, and I believe Paul let him do it, let him just do what he wanted to do on there. I mean, I've always enjoyed that song, but that is a moment. It just like transcends, it takes the song to a whole another level at that point with that break. And that's the highlight of the song, and I think that's a really special moment in the careers of the solo Beatles. So that's one of the first that came to my mind where a song was really enhanced by somebody, a musician, you know.
Mhm.
Along those lines, I'll go with Jimmy McCulloch, who fantastic young lead guitarist that was gone much too soon. And Junior's Farm remains possibly my favorite single
Mm.
from Wings and Paul, in general. Wow, the energy that he gives to that song, and I love the fact that Paul even recognizes him in the middle of the song. Take me down, Jimmy. I
Mhm.
love that
Yeah.
bit in there. And he was so good on the Wings Over America tour
Sure.
and really shined on that and added so much to that. Such a sad thing when somebody is gone too early. And I always think of that whenever I watch uh, that concert and when I hear songs like
Rock
Medicine
show.
Jar
Rock show.
and
Yeah.
things like that. Rock Show. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, Rock Show. So those are a couple that I thought of pretty quickly. Then I was recently I heard the Imagine album for the first time in a while. It's been since the box set had come out, several years now. And I was listening to I Don't Want to Be a Soldier
Mm.
and all the different moods that's in a song that I really didn't like when I was younger, and I became to really a person who would appreciate it as I got older. And King Curtis on there with his part when
Yeah.
he added the saxophone to it is all over the place, and I just love listening to that.
Mm.
The way he plays on there. Also on "It's So Hard," I love
Yep.
the bit that King Curtis does on that song. Also on the Imagine album, I think he added a lot to those 2 songs in particular. But I mean, on "It's So Hard," I don't think it's as prominent as I hear it when I listen to "I Don't Want to Be a Soldier," and it just I said, this is really this guy is amazing on this. I'm definitely going to remember this next
Yeah.
time whenever we bring up Imagine or something, or it fit in this subject perfectly. It was a perfect opportunity to mention it. All right, so
I would
let's
say,
see. I
Joe,
have
just one,
yes,
Joe, one
go ahead.
second. I would love if you gave what we were just talking,
King Curtis.
King Curtis. I would love if you gave his one or two of his albums a chance, because
Oh,
he's got,
why
I
not?
think he's done some fantastic work outside of those 2 songs. So if you ever see a King Curtis record, I would love to get your opinion on it, because I
All
think he's
right,
great.
Tom, we're gonna have to discuss that then when I
Yeah.
do hear one, and I'm
Yep.
sure at my local record store, I'm sure we'll come across one.
Right.
At least. All right. Well, we talked about Denny Lane before, and I feel like every other show I'm mentioning this person. and it's Linda McCartney
Mhm.
and her contribution to Wings and to
Mhm.
Paul in general. I say the same thing every time, but I just always love the sound of her voice. Uh, Not a professional, she learned as she went, but I really like the offbeat quality of harmonies that she gave to Wings. And I think, along with Denny, of course, she was partly the sound of Wings, the voice of Wings, and it wouldn't have been the same without her. Uh, and that's even in the earlier days, pre-Wings, when you're talking about Ram, Uncle Albert, another day. It was different for Paul, wasn't it? I mean, go from the Beatles, and then you start hearing him with his wife in the background, and also singing along with him. It's kind of different sound for him when you have a female in there. And I think that was pretty important. A lot of people rejected it, I'm sure, in the beginning, didn't want her, a lot like with John and Yoko, of course. But yeah, I've always liked it. And that album, Wide Prairie, that she has, boy, I love the whole album. I just like listening to her. Maybe an acquired taste for some, but I'm a Linda McCartney fan when it comes
Mhm.
to her, what she gave to Paul and to Wings in the recordings. Which one would I pick next? We can't pick any Beatles, so right. So I'm gonna skip George Harrison, and all his slide guitar on some stuff. But I thought what I would do is I was surprised I actually thought of this. It's between the two people here. But when I was doing this research, I was thinking of the Ringo album and Richard Perry.
Mm.
Mm.
And I was thinking the songs on, first of all, the songs on the Ringo album, great songs. And I know Ken feels this way, and I tend to agree with him on this topic. I think he often says, right, Ken, in your opinion, it's the song first, really,
Mhm.
and then the production second. When they come together, it's really nice when it comes together. These songs stand on their own on the Ringo album.
Mhm.
And of course, the talent that goes in there, all the guest stars,
Mhm.
the Beatles themselves, the other Beatles, right, and so many other people. The talent's all there, but there's something about the production, and I can't always put my finger on it. It's like I don't know. I want to say a party atmosphere or some kind of a festive feel to when I listen to that. I like the way that whole album sounds with the production on it. So I thought when I was looking for something a little different that I would mention Richard Perry,
Yep.
who I discovered when I was looking up some more information. I didn't know this. His birthday is the same date as Paul. Some people might not know that. June
Huh.
Mm.
18th of 42. Same day.
Interesting.
I
Wow.
didn't know that.
Wow.
So
Did
there
not
you go.
know
There's a
that.
little fun fact. Uh, and I believe that's 5.
Yep.
It
All
is.
right.
So
You know,
very good choices.
one thing that Paul said about Linda, he was looking for more of a Shangri-La's type sound. Not a very trained vocalist, not a powerful
Mm,
vocalist, but that kind of sound appealed to him. And so he applied that with Linda when it came to recording Wing stuff, and she was mixed really well. And not only that, but she handled the keyboard stuff admirably. She learned everything, and she played her parts well.
mm,
So yeah, glad you put Linda in there.
Hmm.
oh yeah.
Tom, will make you next.
All right. Thank you, Ken. Number one, I guess I'm killing two birds with one stone with this gentleman. But Pete Drake. I think his contributions to the All Things Must Pass album is phenomenal. Always been a big fan of the pedal steel guitar, and I think his work is exceptional on those songs. I Live for You, which is my favorite of his work on All Things Must Pass. Obviously, we didn't get it until thankfully we got it, on that 30th anniversary set. Behind that locked door, and obviously Ballad of Sir Frankie Crisp. But he also gets a big thumbs up for me for making the Bukuza Blues album possible for Ringo, because I mean it was pretty much him that put that album together, put those musicians together. He got it to where all Ringo had to really do was just go there and sing in 3 days. And then the album was pretty much one of the fastest. It has to go down as one of the fastest recorded albums of all time, But that just that just speaks volumes of the professionalism of the musicians that Peak Drake got for that record. So Peak Drake definitely, I think, has done some VIP work with 2 of the Fabs. I think you gotta say Eric Clapton again, especially on his work for All Things Must Pass, and then there's also another track later on back in in '79 that he does with Love Comes to Everyone. But I'd Have You Anytime. Pretty much the first thing you hear on that album is Clapton, opening that with that beautiful guitar lick. Art of Dying, Wah Wah. Just beautiful playing from Clapton, and obviously he was the lead guitarist for a concert for Bangladesh. So I mean, that's, even though we had Jesse Ed Davies there ready to go, but thankfully we got Clapton there to perform. So I definitely think that his contributions to George speaks volumes. I'm hoping Kit has this one because this gentleman has some great funky stuff, and that's Willie Weeks. You listen to 33 and a Third, some of George Harrison. I think he's got one track on Extra Texture, which I really like. His Name Is Legs, which he has a really great bass, opening bass bit at the beginning of that. His opening for Woman Don't You Cry For Me is fantastic. Just elevates that song to another level, in my opinion. And that's the power of a great musician. And he's 74 years old. He's still going. So that's awesome. But yeah, Willie Weeks, George has even said that he would rather have someone like Willie Weeks in his band than Paul McCartney. But who knows if he was just being a smart ass or not, because he loved to get a little zinger in on Paul whenever he had the opportunity, but Willie Weeks is phenomenal.
And he was on the 74 tour.
That's right. There's a gentleman that has enhanced of some Paul songs, in my opinion, that I think are good, but what his work to those songs, I think, again, just made those songs a little bit better, and that's Howie Casey. Especially songs with like Bluebird, San Ferry Jet, Mrs. Vanderbilt. He was a part of that ensemble with songs like Silly Love Songs, and obviously going out on tour with Paul, the 75, 76 tour. Did he do the 79 one too? I think he was a part of the 79. I know we did the Rockestra, with Paul on the Back to the Egg album, but that beautiful sax solo that he does in Bluebird, I think it's never been one of my favorite songs, but I just love that bit. I just think that it just enhances the song. Same with, I agree. Same with San Ferry. Now all 4 of the brass are on that song, but you can tell Howie Casey's saxophone playing in the middle of that song, and I think it's brilliant. Lastly, Ken, I think you're between Denny and Linda. I mean, you can't argue those two. You can't.
No.
However, Jimmy McCulloch, I think, is just in a class all of his own with the guitar playing. I love Henry. I love LJ. I think they're phenomenal. But when I hear those albums with Jimmy on them and his solos, I think it's just, I really don't know how to explain it, but it's just a certain amount of talent, maybe, or a certain amount of or if you want to call it God-given talent, or because we know he's a prodigy, right? He started at a young age, if you want to say that, but it's just a whole nother sound, a whole nother oomph to those songs. We talked about like Junior's Farm. We talked about I know Kit's favorite, Magneto and Titanium Man. his
Oh,
work on
great song.
his work on Cafe on the Left Bank is
Let It Go.
fantastic. Letting Go, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, he could play, yeah. I mean, it sounded like he could play any kind of genre of music and sound like it's effortless, you
Mhm.
know. And that's one of the things I think I like about his playing too. It just seems like it's just, he puts his hands and fingers where they need to be, and it's just almost perfect, note for note. And so for me, I think Jimmy, and I think Denny is really good, Ken, but I just don't think that he picked up. He's important, yeah, especially with the vocals. But I don't know if you can say that he was really vital until like mid Wings periods. I don't see those early Wings periods except for like those backing vocals, because he wasn't really contributing that much with the writing. Up until later, but of course, again, he was there from the beginning to the end. So I you again, it's still, who do you pick? I mean, 5 is not enough. I think somebody said that earlier. 5 is not enough, but
No, they both belong there. There's no doubt about it.
yeah,
I tend to, because I'm always about the song first.
right,
Sometimes I put the songwriter first,
right,
beyond the musician. Even though Jimmy co-wrote Medicine Jar and
Right.
Why Don't
Don't
Go,
Go.
you still had more songs from Denny.
Denny.
And you can't deny the importance of Mulligan Tire.
Oh
And
no.
the fact that, like I said, Denny was there from the start to the end.
Mhm.
The only
Yep.
one besides
Yeah.
Paul. So,
Yeah.
I
Yep,
don't
I agree.
related there. But
Yeah.
as a musician for that brief time, oh God, Jimmy added so much to those songs.
Yeah, he had a great impact to that band.
I think the end of London Town, that instrumental part, that
Mhm.
guitar playing, I think that's Jimmy. That's phenomenal. I love it.
Mm.
So yeah, great choices. There's no argument here. I've had it. All deserve
Right.
it.
And yeah, dying. I mean, 20. I'm sorry. Yeah, dying at 26. That was a shame.
No doubt about it. Did you give 5 then?
Yeah, that was my 5. Pete Drake, Eric Clapton, Willie Weeks, Jimmy McCulloch, and Howie Casey.
Okay. All right. Great picks right there. Kit.
Well, yeah, this was tough to narrow it down to 5, and had a bunch of runner-ups, and you guys have mentioned some of them already, but narrowing it down here, first pick, Billy Preston.
Yay.
Gotta give it to Billy Preston. He, of course, not only contributed greatly to Let It Be and Someday Abbey Road, but contributed greatly to some of the solo material as well, including God, which it did some incredible.
The grand piano on that is fantastic.
I mean, can you imagine that song without that? I mean, you can hear his gospel in that, and I mean, you can't imagine that song without that gospel. I mean, because John is kind of, assuming the role of almost like a preacher in that, declaring his he's stating his beliefs or non-beliefs, and in this case, and there's Billy in the background, playing this and just adding to the drama of the song. I can't imagine God without that incredible piano. But of course, Billy can also add just some rollicking, great, rock piano with like this song, George Harrison's This Song, or I'm the Greatest by Ringo. I mean, because that song just has great humor to it. And so, Billy Preston has this sort of, I don't know if it's a stride piano kind of way that, it just adds to the humor of the song. So Billy just had this ability to play all different styles. You still can tell it's him. I mean, he just had that ability that had that uniqueness to him. I mean, just so skilled, but he could just play all different styles. And so he was just he could elevate a song to new heights. So that's my first pick. I'm going to pick another piano player here, Nicky Hopkins.
Yes.
Nicky Hopkins, another incredible player who could play just about anything. Of course, first worked with the Beatles on Revolution, but I think he was an essential ingredient on John's Imagine.
Mhm.
He again could play so many different styles. Jealous Guy is, I think, one of his finest performances. I mean, the first thing you hear, just very beginning, is his playing. Just delicate, so kind of melancholy and thoughtful, and just perfectly underscoring John's words and his kind of confessional tone. It's just I think just a bravado and a performance. Another one then completely opposite is Crippled Inside. I mean, you get that kind of tack piano that sounds like it comes out of a saloon or something. I mean, it's just can turn on a dime and do that. He just was so talented. Another one that died too young, and he not as young as Jimmy McCullough, but still too young. Such a talent, and could play just about anything. A great secret ingredient. Another one that yes, indeed, you did mention, Tom, Willie Weeks. Willie Weeks, what a great, he could play funk. He could play jazz. He could play, he could do something like on 33 1/3 Woman, Don't You Cry for Me, where it's this great funk, bass line. But he could do other songs that, particularly on George Harrison's albums, where, the bass line may not be as upfront as that, but when you really listen to it, it's pretty complicated. Like on this song.
That's what I got down. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Or even Here Comes the Moon. He does a beautiful bass line on that. Or Dark Sweet Lady. The bass line on that is just beautiful. You can tell he had a jazz background when you hear those bass lines, because they're pretty complicated. But again, they're not flashy, but they really carry the song. Next one, Jimmy McCullough. I'm sorry to be repetitive, but I remember when I first saw Rock Show when I was much, much younger. And of course, I, loved watching Paul and everything, but my attention kept drifting to Jimmy McCullough. He was just, I think, one of the key ingredients of that tour. He just, his guitar playing was just grabbed you, just grabbed you by the throat.
I think it like screams arena rock. I think he's like kind of like the perfect arena rock kind of, player.
Yep, I think you're right. I mean, it just, as you guys have said, Junior's Farm, his solos on that are just, I mean, I think you're right. I mean, you could absolutely, as you're listening to it, just picture an audience going like this, listening to it. I mean, and the fact that he was able to learn the solo to My Love, I mean, he had to learn it pretty fast, as I recall. I remember, to learn it on tour, and did a pretty darn good job. And then, of course, writing Medicine Jar. That's a great song. I mean, so he could, so I mean, he could write his own, and Wino Junko. I mean, he just had it all. I think. I mean, he just was a great songwriter, incredible guitarist. I mean, he just, I think he's definitely one of my all-time favorite Wings members. Added so much, and as you've all said, died far too young. And my final pick is Tom Scott. Tom Scott, he came to a Beatles Fest some years ago, and I got to meet him, and he's such a nice guy. And what a talent. He's another one like Willie Weeks that has a jazz background, and you can really tell. And he worked quite a bit with George Harrison, of course, worked with him on the Dark Horse tour, the infamous Dark Horse tour, with his band LA Express, and became a good friend of George's. And but I think two of his solos really stand out, like on this song. I keep coming back to that, but the sax solo on this song really kills. And then, of course, listen to what the man said.
Sure.
I mean, that is an iconic solo. I mean, I think it really ties the song together. I mean, everybody remembers it. And it's just, he is such a skill player. He's played with everybody.
Yeah.
You know, chances are, if you look in your collection, I mean, besides Beatles, you know, solo stuff, look in your collection, Tom is in there somewhere. he played with everybody. So so he's a really gifted musician, and I think anything he plays on, he really elevates. And adds a little sophistication to it with his jazz tinge solos. So those are my 5 picks.
Amazing.
I'm surprised George and Tom were such great friends since he played on the Paul song, you know.
Yeah, that's right.
Come on.
Yes, George chose to make an exception.
Right.
I'm glad you put Nicky Hopkins in there, Kit. He's someone who is so underrated. And it's like you said, he's not so much an elaborate player. He knows exactly what to play, what complements the song. And I always go back to The Light That Has Lighted the World, which is one of my favorite George Harrison songs, and the piano playing in the middle there, which is very simple, but just right. You know, Pete Townsend had some quote many years ago about him that, you know, he just knows what to play. He's not about himself. He's not about getting all the attention for himself. Just whatever will complement the song. Nicky Hopkins brings that to, you know, everything that he does. So I definitely agree there. Yeah, all your choices are wonderful. Tom Scott. I remember him saying that when he was presented, listen to what the man said, he went into the studio and he was just working out the song. So whatever he played, they recorded. And then Tom said, okay, now I'll do something proper, you know, like a real solo. and then Paul said, no, we'll keep that. That's perfect.
And it was.
Yeah.
It was. But it, you know, what you were saying, Ken, that is true. That's what makes a great, you know, studio musician, and I mean musician period, but particularly, you know, that's why these musicians are in demand as studio musicians, because they know what to play, you know, when they don't need a lot of direction, and they know what, you know, just what is right to play in what, you know, at what time. I mean, it's just what a skill. I don't know how they do it.
And they don't try to overshadow the star.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. That's very important.
Yeah. All right. Did we get any comments from our viewers? Because I can't see on my screen.
Sure. Let me take a look here. Indeed, Astro Jer, hello Astro Jer. Tom Scott, I'm listening to what the man said is perfection. I absolutely agree. Oh yeah. Tom JBR says Tom Scott produced Splinter's Harder to Live album and great sax solo on B-side. White shoe weather. Yes. Yeah. Yep.
So Tom Scott also produced 33 1/3.
Yes, he did. That is true.
Howie Casey, Tony DeMeo says Howie Casey also played horns on Arrow Through Me.
Yep.
Howie Casey was one of my runners up. I like Howie Casey a lot. I think he does. You're absolutely right, Tom, that he adds so much.
84 years young.
And he still goes out there and performs too.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. Astro Jer says Willie Weeks would later become a member of the Doobie Brothers. That's right. Forgot about that.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah. Tony DeMeo, hi Tony, said Nicky Hopkins played on one of my favorite Paul songs, Same Love. but
Right.
that's from '86, so we'll discuss it another time. That's right.
Yeah.
That'll be on a future show.
It's always somebody that can't play by the rules.
Oh, Tony also said Preston was on Oh My My.
Hmm.
I think that's right.
And you're right. 10 times, you're 100% right on his performance on God.
Yep.
I mean, Lennon probably could have done that, but when you've got a talent like Billy Preston, you have him do it. You know?
Yep.
And his
Yeah.
fills, you know, fills and his fills competing with Ringo's fills, you know, in between each between John line are fantastic.
Yep. Absolutely.
Nicky Hopkins is the only musician other than Eric Clapton to play on all four Beatles their solo recordings.
Yeah.
Only a couple.
Yeah.
Other than the Beatles themselves.
Right. And I thought it was Billy Preston too, but I think he's performed with all of them live. Not necessarily recorded with all of them. Yeah. Right.
Tom JBR says one of Jimmy's underrated solos is on Treat Her Gently, Lonely Old People. Indeed.
Okay.
He also said earlier, you've forgotten Billy Preston. No, we didn't. See, we got him. We got you. We got you. There you go. So, Tom also had Jim Horn would be on my list.
Yeah. Yep.
That's another one. Yep. Yeah. See, that's the thing. It was hard to narrow it to 5.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. Oh, Gary Wright. Yeah. Only Sleeping to Gary Wright. Yeah. That's another good one.
I think Jesse Ed Davies, with his guitar part in Number 9 Dream, I think is worthy of a mention. I know he's worked with, on that. I think he's works on that whole album, on Walls and Bridges. But yeah,
I'm not sure if he's on every song. He's not certainly on most of them. I'm pretty sure that's Jesse Ed that does the lead guitar solo in Stand By Me.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we got a couple of votes for Jesse Ed here. Yep. So yeah,
him and John first met during the Rolling Stones Rock and Roll Circus, and I tell you that Taj Mahal song that they perform, "Ain't That a Lot of Love," is killer. Really, really killer bluesy track that I recommend everybody watch or listen to. Yeah.
Okay. Any of us have some honorable mentions ourselves?
Why, yes, indeed.
Yes, indeed.
Kit,
I had one.
let me start with you.
Start with who?
With you, Kit.
Oh, me. Oh, okay. I think
Wake
you said
up.
Joe. Sorry. I'm back. Okay, so Pete Drake was one of my honorable mentions. Absolutely agree with you there. His slide playing added so much to All Things Must Pass and produced Beaucoup Blues. Let's see. Let me scroll down here. Vinnie Poncia, that was one. Howie Casey, Klaus Borman, Lawrence Juber, Eric Clapton, Alan White. Added him, and King Curtis, Jesse Ed Davis, Henry McCullough, Dr. John. He added some fun things to elements to some of Ringo's albums. Great piano. Ooh-wee. Exactly. So those were my runners.
That's a fun song.
Yeah, it is. I love that song.
Vinnie Poncia, he wrote that. Okay.
Yep.
Did you have any honorable mentions, Tom?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Denny and Linda, I'm definitely glad they got mentioned. I really love, what the band did with Sunshine Life for Me, even though it's just one song, but it's still, worthy of mentioning just because of, them, what they brought to that song. Again, King Curtis, that he was in my honor, in my running for the top 5 as well. But just so many. I mean, again, it's just so many. I don't think there's a wrong answer really in this, but well, I guess there can be, but
so far there hasn't been.
Nope.
Yeah.
Joe, did you have any?
Well, so far the ones that I had here that were extras, you've all mentioned. Nicky Hopkins was right there. But I put an odd one in there. the song "Mull of Kintyre." I mean, it's a great song even without the. I think if they didn't use the Campbelltown Pipe Band, but I like them being in that song. I really think that those bagpipes really, punctuate that song. It's what it's supposed to be, the feel of it. And I had them down as an honorable mention. Give them some love because
Absolutely.
let's say Mull of Kintyre. It was great anyway before they come in with the bagpipes. But
Well, that's the sign of a great song. When it's
That's for
played by-
So yeah. So Ken, have you ever done that for a trivia question? The only two that is recorded with all four solo Beatles?
I've done that on the radio.
Okay.
I haven't done it on my website,
Hmm.
but that's a good one for everyone to remember in case I do it on my website.
There you go.
Nicky
Yep.
Hopkins and Eric Clapton.
Clapton. Yep.
I also put down Nicky Hopkins for honorable mention, as well as Richard Perry. I also put down Elton John. I mean, there's only a few songs there, but they're so important. Whatever gets you through the night, #1 song. And the two of them sounded great together vocally, and he added so much on the piano there. He really pumped up that song. And I do love the earlier versions of that song, which are really interesting. It's much more laid back, the versions that we've heard from just John singing it alone in the studio. But yeah, I mean, he was the hottest artist on the planet at the time, and he added so much to that song. Also on Surprise Surprise, and definitely Snookeroo, which is one of my
Yeah.
favorite of Ringo's solo songs. And then of course there was that incredible moment on stage when John Lennon joined Elton John on Madison Square Garden, Thanksgiving time of 1974, the last time that he was on stage, in a concert venue in his career. Not counting the great TV special.
I'm gonna have to throw it in there because I mentioned him before, but George Harrison, some of his best guitar playing was on Back Off Boogaloo, Oh My Love, How Do You Sleep. I mean, it's some of his best guitar playing on solo tracks, I think, so I had him down. Couldn't resist.
These are all tremendous choices here. So thanks to the three of you boys and everybody writing in.
Yep.
And so this is great. We'll do this again probably when we tackle the 80s.
How about tomorrow night?
I'd be up for that. Just, do it sometime in the near future.
Indeed.
So why don't we go around the horn and tell everybody what we've been up to on our various shows and stuff. We'll start with you, Tom.
All right, thank you, Ken. I'll try to be short and sweet here. The last couple shows, Saturday we dropped a show with our good buddy Dylan Seavey, and we talked about the middle eights, or the bridges, whatever you want to call them. So we talked about what is the bridge or the middle eight, how is it constructed into the song. We talked about our favorite middle eights in Paul's solo catalog. We also mentioned a few of the great Beatle middle eights that are, because that is just so amazing. Then again, like Ken mentioned, we did interview Denny Sywell and Fernando Perdomo about this upcoming show on July 16th, where they're going to play the Ram album in its entirety. And so we've also got a show coming soon with Terry Crane, who wrote the NEMS book, and we talked about Brian Epstein as a manager. We just talked about NEMS as a business. We talked about a lot of the memorabilia inside of that book. So look forward to that, and that should be out in about a week and a half. So again, keeping busy, and hopefully we'll plan on doing something for Paul's 80th birthday on the 18th. So we'll see.
Okay, Joe, how about you?
Okay, on my YouTube channel, Mr. Mayo, I had a show that I did called Fab Gab. And Ken, at the beginning of this show, you were saying you haven't done one in a while, and that's true. And so many people were saying, "Hey, when is it going to come back?" And I figured we'll do a return of Fab Gab, and it's going to start up again. The next show is going to be this coming Sunday, which will be June the 5th. It'll be at 3 p.m. Eastern. It's a live show. We're going to be celebrating, like a lot of you have already done, Tug of War, the 40th anniversary, Paul's album, but we're going to rank the songs on it and do our least favorite to most favorite, if we can, songs. And I have a special guest on there. I'm gonna, I'll let the guest tell you about it.
Okay. Who is the guest?
Well, who's next in line? Who's next in line?
Why, that would be me. Surprise. I'm the special guest. Yeah, really looking forward to it. And boy, this is going to be hard to rank these songs. But I'll do it. I'm going to do my best. So I'm really looking forward to it. Been on Fab Gap before, and it's always a good time. So this will be a blast. So see you guys over on Joe's channel on this Sunday at 2 p.m. live. And
2 p.m. your time, 3 p.m. my time. I don't know what time.
Yeah, 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Eastern. Yep. and join the conversation. I have a feeling it's going to be good discussion.
I know Be What You See is going to be the number one song. Give it away.
It might not be the last. I don't know yet.
You never know. You never know. So that's coming up. I'm also going to be recording this week a future appearance on Paul or Nothing about this right here, my the Paul concert I just attended. Don't know when that's going up yet, but of course I will let you know. I will be also doing another show from my backyard as soon as the weather cooperates, and since you guys seem to really enjoy it last time I did it, probably it'll be like mid to late June. So I will let you know when that's going to happen. Also be on the lookout for the next Beatles Fan magazine, because it will feature an interview with Ken Womack. I just turned it in today, and it's going to be a sneak preview of the book that we've all been waiting for on Mal Evans. We had a great conversation about the research he did, what surprised him about what he learned about Mal. And I think you'll really, really find it fascinating. I know I did. So if you're not a subscriber, just go to Beatles Fan magazine or BeatlesFan.com, just BeatlesFan.com, and find out how you can subscribe. So you don't want to miss this. It's really a great interview. And of course, you can find us right here. Just go to talkmoretalk.com. You can find us on Twitter at talkmoretalk1. That's the number 1. You can find us, of course, right here on YouTube. And please subscribe. Our subscribers count it's going up, but we need more. So please tell your friends.
Hey, she's calling you up.
That's right. Yep, you all know the reference. So please tell your friends and family, and you can also find us on Facebook, and you can subscribe there as well to be notified of new episodes. And we always post stuff there. And you can email us at talkmoresolotalk@gmail.com. Let us know what you think, feedback. If you have ideas for future shows, you can let us know about that as well. You just might find one of your ideas on a future show. And of course, you can find us on any podcast streaming platform that you use. Virtually anyone you can think of. So you can find us everywhere. And and you can also find us on online, thanks to Beatle Ed at Fab4 Radio. So thanks again to him. He streams many of our individual shows. So you can't get away from us. We're everywhere, so you can find us everywhere. Oh, what?
Don't try to fight us.
Yep.
Thank you, Kit.
Yes.
Okay. As for me, on my website, which is kenmichaelsradio.com, you know that there's Beatles trivia every single week. This week, there's a Beatle game called The End. which I play at the very end of a Beatles song or a solo Beatles song, and you have to name it. And now I have as a prize this guy right here, The Beatles and India, a brand new documentary that we've been talking about here. I have one copy to give away on DVD. One
I'll
on
take it.
So you got to get
good. Yeah, it was a good one this week. Good one.
Thank you. How well do you do with my trivia, Tom, lately? I know when I did the show live,
Right.
you knew the answers.
I should just start, not wanting to, not to win or just to, turn in the question just to see if, if I'm right. Yeah. I think I'll start doing that. Not with this one because it was just too easy, but on the next one.
I like to mix it up, make one easy.
You have to. Yeah. Right. You don't want to discourage everybody,
Right. Okay. And in addition to that, my YouTube channel, which is Ken Michaels Radio, it's a brand new interview with Billy J. Kramer. And we talk about his entire career. Of course, he's not just a recording artist, he is family in the Beatle world because John and Paul gave him more songs than really any other artist. It's Billy J, Peter and Gordon, Cilla Black, those were the top ones. And the Lennon-McCartney songs that he did, that he had several hits with those. And of course, it was produced by George Martin, managed by Brian Epstein. We talk about his career, the early part of his career. He also recorded a Harry Nilsson song and a Bee Gees song before they were really big. So we talk about that. And, what he's been doing the last few years, and he's still out there performing, giving a concert at the Cutting Room in New York City on June the 6th. So that's on my YouTube channel. I also just did an interview with someone that interviewed you, Kit. Jason
Oh,
and I go back a long ways because in addition to my years on WDHA in New Jersey, which a lot of people know me for, I was there for 10 years. For about 1 to 1.5 years, I was a DJ on WZFM in White Plains, New York. And it was an adult contemporary station back then in 1984 and 85. I like to refer to it as the Lionel Richie channel because just about every hour there was Lionel Richie music, whether it's solo or the Commodores. But, Barbra Streisand, Barry Manilow, solo Beatles, Christopher Cross, Gloria Estefan, those artists, Sergio Mendes, that's the kind of music that we played there at the station. And I was there doing an overnight shift Sunday nights from midnight till 6. And JC was the program director. And he is also the host of a syndicated Beatles show called Beatles Weekly. And JC interviewed Kit for one of the shows. So this was a WZFM reunion on my channel. And we talk about his show, Beatles Weekly, and we do a Fab Five show as well on there. And don't forget, there is my interview with Allan White, which is on my channel as well. I've been told, I don't want to say it's the last interview he ever did. It's safer to say it's one of the last ones that he did. A lot of talking about working with George in particular on All Things Must Pass, and that's on Ken Michaels Radio. If you can, please subscribe to my channel. Things we said today, my other podcasts, we'll be doing a show next week. As it turns out, Darren DeVivo, one of my co-hosts, will be going to all 3 Ringo concerts at the Beacon. And I'll be going to the first one at the Beacon. Then I'll be seeing Paul at Fenway. So for that show, we'll be talking about our experiences with both the Ringo shows and Paul. And we're also going to be doing something which is kind of a continuation of, like we had the compilations, the Beatles 1962 to 66 and 67 to 70. We're going to do one that goes into the solo careers of the Beatles. So it's either going to start in 1968, if you want to include 2 virgins or wonderful music, and we're either going to go to 74 or 75. That's going to be like a double CD, what we would do for that. All right.
Yeah.
It's going to be our next show, and that's next week, but it won't be till Thursday or Friday because I won't be back from Massachusetts till then. So got all those things going on. If you want to get in touch with me by email directly, it's everylittlething@att.net. I'm finishing up my latest Every Little Thing show, the syndicated show, which is an all Paul McCartney hour for his 80th birthday. And that'll be airing in a few weeks leading up to June 18th. All right. This has been fantastic. This is a great topic that we did. And thanks to all of you for all your comments and to everyone for watching. Thanks so much for watching us, the regulars, the newbies. You know,
look at
veterans.
that. Nice shirt.
Okay. I didn't even know it was a McCartney shirt till now. All right. Thanks so much for watching. And as Paul would say at the end of all of his concerts, we'll see you next time.
Ah.
Take care.